and all of the agencies involved will continue to dismantle.
Tonight, the Department of Homeland Security is sharing new pictures and details following this weekend's arrest of more than
At dawn, Texas and California woke up to a different reality. More than 100 simultaneous raids shattered the quiet of residential neighborhoods as battering rams broke through doors. Federal agents stormed locations where a Venezuelan cartel had spent years building its fentanyl hubs. What looked like ordinary homes and warehouses turned out to be the core of a toxic empire capable of sending a deadly wave across the entire nation. The investigation led federal agencies into the very heart of the western U.S. drug corridor, stretching between Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Southern California. These cities had become key nodes where Venezuelan cartel operatives built covert infrastructure disguised as car washes, logistics warehouses, construction companies, and small service businesses. In the outskirts of Los Angeles and along the I-10 highway, long considered one of the main arteries for smuggling, agents uncovered a network of at least 750 members. Dozens of sleeper cells connected Texas and California into a unified system for moving fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine to other states. In scale, this became the largest blow to the Venezuelan cartel in the past decade, as for the first time, investigators obtained documented proof of a multi-state network operating as a full-scale distribution hub for the entire country.
The launch of the large-scale operation didn't happen by accident. It grew out of a series of small signals that at first didn't seem connected. The first was an anonymous report sent to the DEA office in San Antonio. A caller described a car wash where workers changed every week, but no one ever saw it open for customers. A few weeks later, customs officers at the port of Long Beach flagged a suspicious shipment of industrial solvents, supposedly destined for a small California company that existed only on paper. At the same time, investigators detected irregular cryptocurrency transfers that cycled through anonymous wallets and eventually traced back to Venezuelan banks. At first, these were only fragments, but when HSI analysts layered them together, it became clear. This was a cross-border operation running simultaneously in Texas and California, showing every mark of a cartel-grade structure. That discovery led to the creation of a joint FBI-DEA-HSI task force, assigned to fully map the network. Over the next 8 months, agents carried out undercover buys, obtained wiretap warrants, tracked courier movements along I-10 and I-35, and documented suspicious import routes from Mexico. It soon became clear that the cartel did not operate like traditional traffickers, but like a corporate system, sprawling, compartmentalized, and disciplined. Fentanyl precursors entered the country in small batches, hidden inside containers of auto parts or chemical reagents. From there, they were moved into legitimate warehouses leased through chains of shell companies registered under the names of Venezuelan nationals who had long since vanished. The financial side of the operation was even more sophisticated. According to federal investigators, nearly all cartel transactions had shifted to cryptocurrency, from paying for raw materials to compensating couriers. More than 70% of all transfers were routed through one-time wallets, destroyed after a single cycle. Through crypto mixing services, the funds re-entered the legal economy, disguised as revenue from car washes, repair shops, and logistics firms. The distribution network itself spanned 15 states, from Arizona and Nevada to Georgia and Illinois. In each of them, the cartel maintained small cells of 2 or 3 people, responsible for collecting cash and transferring shipments to local dealers. Many couriers had no criminal record and believed they were transporting legitimate goods. According to agent estimates, the group's annual profit exceeded $600 million. Fentanyl made up the bulk of the revenue, but cocaine and methamphetamine also moved through the same logistical hubs. Financial analysts determined that in the last 12 months alone, more than $180 million had flowed through shell company accounts in Texas, while in California, the figure surpassed $260 million.
The trigger for the operation's tactical phase was an intercepted truck near El Paso. Alongside a concealed container of precursors, agents found a tablet containing an encrypted logistics map. It listed 27 locations in Texas and 19 in California, the same ones that later became the first targets of the pre-dawn raids. That digital map provided the proof that the network had reached a scale threatening national security. It was at that moment that command made the decision: shift from surveillance to dismantlement. What began with a single anonymous call had evolved into the largest exposure of Venezuelan cartel infrastructure on U.S. soil in years. A machine operating quietly, deeply, and with extraordinary profitability. When the federal court designated the Venezuelan cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, the legal landscape changed instantly. Anyone even indirectly working for the network, from couriers and dispatchers to office accountants and warehouse landlords, now falls under the statute for providing material support to terrorism, a charge that carries life imprisonment without the possibility of reduction. For the first time in U.S. history, drug trafficking on American soil was formally equated with the financing of terrorist activity, creating a precedent that dramatically expanded the authority of investigative teams and the legal responsibility of every participant involved in the scheme. The investigation revealed that the cartel operated as a multi-tiered economic system in which each segment worked autonomously, yet together formed a single conveyor belt of death. At the entry point stood foreign suppliers of precursors, chemical components shipped from South America and Asia through California ports, masked by falsified invoices for cosmetic or technical industries. Containers often passed through multiple relay points, changing labels and even country of origin, before reaching warehouses on the outskirts of Los Angeles or Houston. There, the second layer took over. Laboratory crews who mixed the raw materials inside mobile mini-labs hidden in shipping containers, construction company garages, or abandoned auto shops. Fentanyl, cocaine, and methamphetamine were produced in small batches to minimize losses in case of a raid. Manufacturing resembled an industrial process. Pill presses, chemical reactors, ventilated capsules, and specially trained chemists working in protective suits. A dose of fentanyl the size of a grain of sand could kill a person, and each underground press produced thousands of pills an hour, a scale capable of endangering dozens of cities. Parallel to the drug trade, the cartel ran an illegal weapons operation. Firearms were purchased from private dealers or smuggled in from Mexico. They were stored in the same warehouses where narcotics were produced and used both to guard shipments and intimidate workers. Some of the weapons were funneled to local gangs, creating an additional cycle of violence. Another branch was human trafficking. Couriers, laborers, and even technicians were recruited through debt bond schemes. The cartel financed their journey into the United States, then multiplied the debt several times over. People were kept in basement rooms, low-cost rented apartments, or improvised dormitories at construction sites. They worked in warehouses, mixed chemicals, drove vehicles, effectively slaves who could not leave the network without risking their lives. The warehouse infrastructure was the heart of the logistics model. In Texas and California, the cartel owned or rented more than 50 properties, from legitimate logistics centers to derelict hangars beyond city limits. Every batch passed through these nodes. One facility handled raw material intake, another mixing, a third handled temporary cooling before distribution. As a result, no single warehouse contained full evidence, and couriers received only the fragment of information needed for their segment. The financial system was equally complex. Cryptocurrency transactions, falsified accounting records, fake loans, and payments routed through shell companies created the illusion of lawful business operations. Money was laundered repeatedly through forged invoices, service firms, false tax reports, and offshore accounts. Part of the profits was reinvested into legitimate businesses used as cover.
The rest was sent back to Venezuela through crypto wallets designed to erase transaction histories automatically.
The danger of this model lay in its scalability. A single lab could produce enough fentanyl to devastate a mid-sized city. A single weapons shipment could arm a gang for months. And a single warehouse could hide dozens of people forced to work under threat of death. In the end, the cartel wasn't merely running a criminal network. It had built a parallel economy fueled by forced labor, toxic chemicals, and high-tech smuggling. And that is precisely why federal authorities applied laws typically reserved for terrorists. Because in scale, profit, structure, and danger, this was indeed a modern terrorist conveyor, disguised as a business. Preparation for today's operation had been underway for weeks. Once task force analysts completed the full network map, covering every warehouse, shell company, safe house, and laboratory, it became clear that action had to be simultaneous. Otherwise, the cartel would start destroying evidence and scattering across the border. Coordination meetings between the FBI, DEA, HSI, and local departments took place daily in secure, phone-free rooms. Agents created an assault matrix, a multi-layered blueprint of 40 primary targets in Texas and California. Each location had its own code, assigned team, exact entry time, fallback route, and a designated backup unit. In parallel, logistics officers built the operational rosters. One set of teams for laboratory breaches, another for courier interceptions, and separate groups for sealing off transport corridors along I-10 and I-35. In the final phase, a series of night rehearsals were conducted, where agents practiced responses to possible shootouts, warehouse fires, or escape attempts. Special attention was given to sites where people might be held in debt bondage. Rescue teams were assigned to those locations. Why did the operation happen today? Intelligence confirmed that a new shipment of precursors was scheduled to arrive in Texas overnight, while in California, 2 cartel coordinators were expected to collect cash and leave the country within 48 hours. This created a high risk that the leadership tier could flee. After several hours of final plan verification, at 5 a.m., a command from the Federal Operations Center triggered the synchronized takedown. All units breached their targets within the same 90-second window. No warnings, no delays, maximum speed, to paralyze the cartel before it even understood what was happening.
The results of the operation became clear within the first hours after the raids. Federal teams arrested more than 120 individuals, among them distribution coordinators, couriers, warehouse guards, and several accountants responsible for cryptocurrency transfers. At multiple locations, agents found trafficked workers whom the cartel had locked inside and forced to work in laboratories and logistics centers. The seized narcotics shocked even veteran agents. In total, authorities confiscated more than 60 kilograms of fentanyl precursors, dozens of kilograms of methamphetamine and cocaine, and hundreds of thousands of finished pills. According to DEA estimates, this volume was enough to generate millions of lethal doses, the kind capable of overwhelming several major cities. The weapons haul was equally staggering. More than 900 firearms, from AR-15 semi-automatic rifles to carbines, shotguns, and pistols with obliterated serial numbers. Some were smuggled from Mexico, others purchased through the Texas black market. In a hangar near El Paso, agents found a stockpile of body armor, tactical helmets, and night vision optics. The financial evidence confirmed the scale of the network. Over $6.4 million in cash, dozens of crypto wallets containing at least $14 million in digital assets, and safes filled with gold bars and luxury watches used as covert storage of high-value assets. In several cartel offices, agents uncovered fake documents, passports, and driver's licenses from dozens of states, along with printers for producing new ones. Technical teams seized servers, radios, encrypted tablets, modified firmware routers, and laptops equipped with cryptocurrency laundering software.
Taken together, the evidence painted a clear picture. The network was not simply distributing drugs, it operated as a full-scale criminal infrastructure with hierarchical management, financing channels, technology systems, and logistics. And every component seized during the operation directly linked the network to Venezuelan cartel structures that had spent years trying to remain invisible. The consequences of the operation were felt on the streets almost immediately. In neighborhoods across Houston, Austin, Sacramento, and East Los Angeles, familiar drug points simply vanished, abandoned or emptied out after operators fled upon hearing about the mass raids. Early reports from local police show fentanyl circulation dropped by 70% within hours, and in some cities the street price doubled, a classic sign that a supply chain has collapsed overnight. Agents explain that this scheme was particularly dangerous because of its structure and invisibility. The cartel operated inside the legal economy, behind car washes, warehouses, and construction companies. They hid drug trafficking inside ordinary business. That made them nearly untouchable, one DEA supervisor noted. That same network architecture allowed them to operate for years. No single element looked suspicious until analysts overlaid every fragment into one cohesive system. According to the FBI, the turning point was the digital trail, cryptocurrency transactions, and server data. These allowed investigators to identify the coordinators, not just the couriers. "We didn't just hit another warehouse," one agent said. "We cut the spine of the network, forcing it to lose coordination." Compared to previous operations, task force officials stress that this was the first time production, logistics, financing, and personnel were struck simultaneously. Earlier operations were surgical, dismantling a single lab or arresting local dealers, but the network always regenerated. This time, the strike was so comprehensive that it immediately collapsed the market across multiple states. The agent's final assessment is simple. The cartel underestimated how deeply federal investigators could penetrate its digital and financial systems. That was the decisive factor behind the operation's success, and a signal that the era of invisible criminal economies is coming to an end.